Hi everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and welcome to Track Analysis. In this series, I'm trying to promote active listening. That means conscious, analytical reflection of electronic music to listen to every single part of it and give them names. The objectives here are first, to fill in our track analysis grid, and secondly, to choose some of these techniques to use in our own tracks. The track that we've got for you today is by a French duo called KAS. The track itself is called Hell on Earth. Hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get into the track. So here we see the track analysis grid. We're going to be filling this in by listening to the track and naming a number of elements on it. The idea is not to be exhaustive, but still to get as far as we can in a short amount of time. Let me play you the climax of the track so you know what we're listening for here. Okay, that's enough information. So let's get into the grid. What's the emotional expression of the song? This arguably is the most important thing of all the different design decisions that are made. It's apocalyptic rolling techno. It's kind of similar to like peak time techno, but at the same time, it's using things like kind of monk chants and audio dialogue that are make you give this feeling of anxiety, you know? And then they've got these like rave stabs going over the top. So overall, very bleak, very desolate. It feels like a kind of a, post-apocalyptic wasteland kind of vibe. In terms of ingredients, the beats per minute is 136 beats per minute, which is like on the fast side of techno. And its time signature is simply 4x4. So that's 4 to the floor. In terms of drums, let's listen to the different parts and just quickly analyze them. So pay attention to the kick drum here. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4 kick drum. Very boring. I mean, standard, let's call it. And then between each kick drum, there's like a rolling low percussion, which might be like a low tom or another kick drum, but just slightly less heavy than the main kick drum. So it goes kick drum, 2, 3, 4, kick drum, 2, 3, 4, kick drum, 2, 3, 4. So here we go. You hear that? And so the percussion doesn't change pitch or anything. It just always stays at the same. So it's just a 16th note, like a rolling bass line, but a percussive rolling bass line. Now, let's listen to the high end of the percussion as well. So it feels like there's a 16th note hi-hat that goes, and then there's this ride sitting on top, like a 909 ride. Just goes on the upbeat. It just goes, right? And every now and then, there's this like splash, right? Just to kind of mark the like the third beat. And it's either the hi-hat on the upbeat is quite marked, or there's even like a small bit of wooden percussion underneath to make it come down into the mid-range. Otherwise, there's not a lot of mid percussion that I can tell. Pretty much nothing. Let's scan through the rest of the track and see if there's extra elements added. The drums are exactly the same. The kick in the distance, like very high pass filtered. That little ba-doom, 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 ba-doom just before the climax. It's like a version of the kick drum, but like put through a distortion unit, bounced to audio, and then relayered in, probably. So none of the hi-hats are playing here. And then the hi-hats come in. And then there's the ride again. So they take their time over here to introduce each like gear of the high end one step at a time. And every now and then they've got a clap as a marker to just say, this is a new chapter, with a lot of reverb on it. So that's everything for the drums. Now, in terms of the harmonics, this is definitely a song with a chord progression. It has 2 chords. It goes, oh, oh, oh. So from one chord to the other chord and back again. All right. You can also tell that like the acid synthesizer, it switches pitch when the chord changes, and in the background the like string and choir sounds, they also shift. So Let me jump into it and quickly analyze which key this is in. So the main chords I'm detecting are something close to this one and this one. I would probably play it in different inversions because the most prominent notes are this note and this note. So I'd probably play those at the top. Do something like this. So this would be the first chord. And then this is the second one. So in fact, that's in E major, a 1 to 3 chord progression. The first chord is major, which sounds happy and triumphant, but the third chord is sad. So you go from happy to melancholic to happy to melancholic. That makes it feel so kind of euphoric, but also kind of sad. What other harmonic elements can we tell? Let's have a look at the intro.
Everybody's out of work, scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going.
Sounds a little bit like a pad sound that's kind of brassy, like horn pad sound. Then there's like a string in the background going do do do.
Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it.
There's a bass line then that comes in, this kind of like long sustained bass line. So let's say there's 3 elements. There's like the horn pads, the string sitting on the top, and then the bass in the lows just kind of holding the warmth together. So yeah, 3 elements. Horn pad, strings over the top, and a dark bass at the bottom, but not very powerful in the bass, just enough to give warmth. And then there's this acid synthesizer that's playing a polymeter, boom, 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 boom. And we did a video about that, so check that one out. Okay, now there's an arpeggio that comes in, this like high rave arpeggio. It's playing along with the pad that's changing. Now, another layer that you'll notice here is the choir sound. So this sounds like a sample. This sounds like a sample that's from some kind of recording of like a Gregorian chants or something like this. I don't know exactly where it comes from, but you find that, and either it's already in key with your track or you pitch it up and down until it matches your track. And they kind of slice that in there as it's sort of a tasty layer that makes it feel very warm and rich. But they don't play it the whole time because they probably don't have control over that sample either, in the sense that it only plays this one do 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 kind of riff, and then they can't make it play other notes. So they just drop it in there once to add spice to it, but the pads and the strings keep the interest alive for the rest of the track. Okay, and the vocal sample here. So the vocal sample here is very, very important, right? So this is one of the things that people will latch onto and remember about this track. And it's this kind of like really angry man talking. Super great sample, really adds to the overall vibe. The lead sound, that ARP, clearly has a lot of different modulation options. Like it goes very bright and like glassy at some points when the filter opens, and then sometimes now it's almost like a sine wave. Also the 303, so the acid synthesizer opens up. And that's it. I think we've listed all the ingredients. We could take all these ingredients and make our own version of this track as well if we wanted to. Now let's just talk a little bit about the arrangement and some of the decisions over time to make this into such a strong track. First of all, let's notice 32 bars of intro, right? And in the intro, almost all of the instrumentation is already brought in. There's the vocal sample, there's the strings, everything is already in there. And so the beat, when it comes, is actually a complete gear shift after almost a minute of music already. And once the beat starts, we can go reset all the instrumentation back to sparseness. We can reset the instrumentation back to almost nothing and listen. Just low energy level, and so later on it can crescendo again. Over the course of the beat, they start with almost no high-end elements and they bring them in one by one, because after 16, let's say 16 or 32 bars, the beat gets a bit stale, so they add in an extra high-end element. So like the hi-hats, then the ride, then there's the extra splashy sound. So bringing those in, refresh the loop until it reaches its maximum crescendo, probably around here. So the beat ends here at the 81st bar, and just before it, there's already a high pass filter, which is kind of scooping out all the lows to make it feel like we're sort of jumping off of a cliff into the break. Once we do this kind of jumping motion, there's the strings at the top which sort of soar and they float downwards, so it makes us feel like we're flying. And as we're flying, then this new element is brought in, the lead arp. It slowly opens up, and then it just repeats a few times while they add in back the full instrumentation, because the instrumentation was very empty here, so they go into crescendo instrumentation here, which becomes like everything playing at the same time but with no beat. And then to vary that, the last third section is the vocal sample, which is again its own story. So this break has 3 chapters. It has the decrescendo, like the way where the energy goes down, the crescendo where the energy comes up, and then normally you would have to drop the beats because otherwise it would get repetitive, right? But they have a third option, which is let's also add in this signature vocal. And then the beat just resets, and this is almost copy paste from the first beat section where it just starts with sparse instrumentation, plus of course this arpeggiator, and then it shifts gears from the first gear to the second gear to the third gear in the high end by adding all those. They don't decrescendo quite as much here. Like the instrumentation stays quite sparse because they don't want you to reset back for another huge buildup. This is just like to take away a little bit of energy by taking away the beat, but they're going to give it right back after about 20 seconds. And so the lead arp actually goes back away, and then the 303 now takes the lead. So it's almost like these two are in a dialogue. So it's either the lead arp, the glassy arp that's dominating, or it's the 303, but like they're not both competing for space. These are two elements that can be modulated forwards or backwards. It's a bit crushing there on the vocal sample. You can hear like the kind of a digital ring. Let's listen to that again. That's bit crushing. So in a way, this break is exactly the same as this. Like that drop is exactly the same as that drop, except that the one vocal element sitting on top of the beat is a 303 here and not the arp. We actually end on a sort of a crescendo where a lot of elements are swelling up as the last vocal slice is delivered. And then the anger of the man's voice is contrasted with the softness of this Gregorian chant, which is a great juxtaposition which gives like the feeling of tension and contrast. And when the man shouts, his voice degrades into bit-crushy nonsense. Listen. So it's like intense anger, but at the same time kind of a serenity, which makes this song feel kind of spiritual in a way, like it's really got a kind of a profound message, even though the message you could say is, in the end, it's a techno song, right? We filled in the track analysis grid. Have a look at it for yourself. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. The track analysis grid can be downloaded in the link below. And check out one of these other videos, either the one on polyrhythms, which explains what the 303 pattern is doing here, or another one of our track analysis. My name is Oscar. This was Underdog Electronic Music School. Take care. Bye-bye.